Why do you think you got cancer, even though you did everything that science tells you to do to not get it?
Because I think science misses one point, and really it took death for me to understand this, and I share it because I don't want people to have to die to figure it out. The biggest killer was the fear, the constant living in fear, doing everything I did from a place of fear. It doesn't matter what you eat, but if you are in constant high stress and anxiety day in and day out, trying to live life a certain way. So, for example, in the community I grew up in, my parents are Indian, but they were immigrants. We lived in Hong Kong, predominantly a Chinese city. I went to a British school. So my peers, my classmates were all British. And I didn't fit in. I didn't fit in with the British kids because my parents were instilling the Indian culture in me. I didn't fit in with Chinese kids because I'm Indian. But then when I would be with Indian kids, I didn't fit in there either because my first language started to become English, and I started to become indoctrinated into British culture and British pop culture and British pop music. And so I was different. I was all of these things and none of these things. So I was always trying to fit in. Wherever I was, I feel I didn't fit in. The other thing was that as I was growing up, my parents were trying to groom me for an arranged marriage. I didn't want an arranged marriage because none of my British friends had to go through that. So I wanted to I wanted to study. I wanted to have higher education and get a job and earn my own money and travel the world. But I wasn't allowed to do any of that because it makes you less desirable to a potential arranged marriage husband. So women from that time, from my culture or the particular community I grew up in, particularly this happens with immigrants. They want to hold on to their culture tighter because they're afraid their kids are going to lose their culture. So I grew up in this culture with a lot of gender disparity where a woman's worth is measured by how valuable she is to the men in her community.
Interesting.
So I always had very low self-esteem and was always trying to fit in, was always afraid of displeasing people, particularly my dad. I knew my dad was disappointed in me from the time I was a little child.
Really?
Just because I was a girl. I think
they
favored boys, they favored sons over daughters. Daughters are considered a burden.
Come on. Really?
Yeah. Yes. I mean,
a burden?
I know it's changing today, so I'm not trying to slam my entire culture. But I have met enough people in the world who have said, "Oh my God, you're telling my story." So I know I'm not alone in this.
Where girls are considered burdens by parents or fathers or
by
just the whole society?
By parents and by the whole of society, because in the community and culture.
How are men born? Through women.
Exactly.
I don't understand as a burden. Yeah.
And yet when a woman is pregnant, all the good wishes, like all the prayers given to her, and she gets to go to the temple where the priests are blessing her, they're all blessing her with a son. And in our culture, a blessing is, may you be blessed with sons. It's
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
I mean, how old were you when they were trying to create an arranged marriage?
Well, it started when I was in my late teens. Now so I had British friends, Chinese friends, Indian friends. My Indian friends started getting married from the age of 17, arranged marriage.
All arranged marriages.
Yeah. So
none of them had a choice of who they wanted to marry.
No, arranged marriages. And so one of my best friends got married literally as soon as we finished high school. That summer, we were on vacation. And then one of my best Indian friends says to me, "My parents just got me engaged." And I was like, "What?" And then, so my parents didn't push me into it that soon. But when I was 19, my other absolutely best friend, who was like a sister to me, she got engaged. So by the time I was 21, my parents are like, "Okay,
you're late now.
You're late now. Yes.
So they got
Yes.
engaged. They didn't know the men they were engaged to, or they
No.
just met them or something.
They get to know them after they're engaged, but then it's too late to back out.
You can't back out. It's forced.
You're discouraged. They don't call it forcing, but they discourage you. And
But if you do, you're kind of like excommunicated, I guess, or you're shunned from
yes.
the family or the community or the culture.
because I did that, and I was shunned by the culture and the community.
So you're 21, you have an arranged marriage, and
So
what happens?
It took me a little while because I still was rebelling, but they started to try to push me towards an arranged marriage. And at first I said, no, I'm going to find my own husband. But then I started to get lonely because all my British friends had gone on to university and careers. Same with my Chinese friends. My Indian friends had got married. So finally I gave in and I got engaged. And then when I got engaged, the realization hit me of what the rest of my life would be like, because I discovered the family I was going to marry into, they didn't want me to work outside the home. Because whenever I had said to my own parents, I want to work, I want to travel, and they would say, you can do that after you're married if your husband approves of it. So again, in our community, in our culture, a woman doesn't move out of her parents' house. She leaves when she gets married,
Right.
and then she will live with her husband and most likely his parents as well.
That's common in different cultures, I guess, that like you may not leave if you're a daughter from your parents until
Yes.
your mid-20s or even 30, I guess. But
As long as you're single, you stay with your parents.
Interesting.
At that time. Of course, it's changing, but this is to give you the background of my own life, my culture, the upbringing. And yes.
Okay, so you're engaged for how long? And then
So I was actually engaged for quite a few months, during which time I was able to get to know the family. And I realized I had made a mistake in agreeing to it. But by that point, you're discouraged from backing out because you're being told all the way along that if you back out, no one else is going to marry you because you will have tarnished your reputation. And I discovered that they weren't going to let me work outside the home. I said, can I go back to school? I never went to university. And they said, nope. And I was to stay home and learn to be a better homemaker, a better cook, and to learn to clean house and all these things. And I said, I'm willing to do all those things, but I want to also have something more. But I was told no, and you're going to have to go to the temple a couple of times a week. And so 3 days before the wedding, I just found myself feeling like, I can't do this. I can't spend the rest of my life doing that. And I ran away. And if you know anything about Indian weddings, they are 2-week-long affairs, with musicians and banqueting and people flying in from all over the world. And so we had all the relatives had already come
Oh my
from
gosh.
all over. It was going to be in India. We'd all flown to India. And I ran away and I hid at a friend's house.
3 days before you're supposed to get married.
Yes. And I brought so much shame to my family and his family. And this was a long time ago. This was in 1987. And the entire Indian community all over the planet had heard about what I'd done. And this was before the days of the internet.
Oh my gosh. Talk about, I guess, shame that you were feeling. Guilt, shame.
I felt I'd let my dad down even more. No wonder I was a disappointment.
No one ever has walked away from a wedding and this one person did it, right?
That's what it felt like, right?
Yeah. You're the only one who's ever done this.
Yes, that's really what it felt like. I had so many relatives saying to me, we flew in and, they'd brought presents.
My God.
It was, and people were saying to my family, they were blaming my parents. They were blaming my parents saying, you spoilt her. Why didn't you just force her to still show up at the temple? All these relatives were coming to my parents, their door. And they told my parents, no parents are going to let their son anywhere near me after what I'd done.
Your parents, all the friends and the families that flew in are like shaming your parents now and saying they should have forced you to just get married and don't be a spoiled little brat or whatever it is. Like,
yes, literally, they said you should just slap your daughter and make her turn up at the temple. They were even saying this the day before the wedding because I had already disappeared. They were like, we can find her and just slap her and send her to the temple. And
what a traumatic way to get married.
I know.
What a traumatic way, if that actually did happen, to be like, we're going to force you and you're just going to like it.
And my mom said, I'm not going to force her. If she was so distressed that she had to do this, I'm not going to force her.
There was a lot going on inside of her.
Yeah. I think her mama bear came out and, and
protecting you. That's
she was
nice.
Protecting me. And she said, I'm not going to force her. And that's when they were saying, no, and my mom said, obviously, there's something that's preventing her from feeling comfortable to do that, to move in with them. And the relatives were saying, oh, they'll sort it out after they're married. Just get her through this.
Oh my gosh. So you didn't get married?
So I didn't get married.
Wow. What did that feel like the day after the wedding was supposed to happen, when everyone cleared out and there was no more ceremony and you knew you weren't getting married? How did that make you feel?
I felt heavy. It didn't feel like relief. It didn't actually feel, it felt like I was caught between a rock and a hard place. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. It felt like I had disappointed everyone. I felt sad.
Yeah.
I felt like grieving because I was young. I didn't know how to process the emotions. It felt like what today I would call grief.
Mm-hmm.
It was like something had just ended and I felt I'm supposed to feel relief, but it didn't feel like that.
Well, because everyone was disappointed in you, upset at you. They didn't want to be around you. They were...
Yes. And luckily, I had a few very close friends who said to me, you did the right thing, because if you don't feel love or excited to get married, you shouldn't do it. And they were there trying to cheer me up, support me. So
that's good you had that support.
I had that support.
Side note, just curious, how many people do you know who got an arranged marriage back then that are still married and actually happily married?
Hardly any.
Really? Are there? I mean, there has to be some, but
I'm sure there are.
But
I'm sure there are.
Are there any friends that you have from back then, or any family members or relatives that you know back in the 80s and 90s who got married through arranged marriage, where they were forced to get married essentially by others choosing for them, and they're like happily married, or they're still, maybe they're married but they're not happy. I don't know.
That's what I mean.
There's more shame to get divorced or something.
Yes, I know people who are still married. Now, when I say arranged marriage, they don't think that they're forcing you. It's an interesting situation where they say, all we're doing is we're arranging the meeting, and then it's up to you after that.
But it is forced. Yeah.
But it's manipulative. At least that's what I experienced. Is that after you've met and you then request, let's say, a second meeting, at the most you're allowed maybe 2 meetings, and always with chaperones. And then maybe you go on one date. And then after that, I went, when you say something, after going on the one date, when you say something like, yeah, they're really nice, I don't mind seeing them again, that's when it's like, oh, you can't see them again unless you get engaged. And I'm like, oh, I'm not ready to get engaged, but I'm happy to get to know them more. And it's like, no, you can get to know them after you get engaged.
Interesting.
It's more like that. But you're not forced to get engaged, but it's in that moment. Now, what happened is and the woman's side always has the disadvantage in these situations, or at least used to. I believe it's changing a lot today, and I certainly hope so for the woman's sake. But what happens is that if the man says yes, like he gets asked the same question, would you like to marry her? And then if he says, yes, actually, I think I will, I like her. For the man, it's the woman who has to give up her entire life and move into his house and follow his rules.
He doesn't have to change anything. Yeah.
He doesn't have to change anything. He still goes to work. He still does his thing. for her, she has to be willing to change everything. So she wants to get to know him more before she makes
Changed her whole life.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he says yes. Now the news comes back to the girl's family. He said yes. Now the girl is told, if he said yes and you say no, you come across as being choosy. And
Is that a bad thing? I mean,
apparently,
don't you want to be like?
Yeah. But no, then it's like less and less people will be willing to come forward and, because all this is called matchmaking.
Sure.
You will get less offers, is what they say.
So if you can sum up the first 25 years of life, what were the internal feelings and mindset you had about yourself and the world?
The internal feeling was that there was something wrong with me. I didn't understand why it was so easy for other young women in my culture to agree and go through with an arranged marriage, and I wasn't able to. The internal feeling was total disappointment in myself, self-loathing, fear, stress, anxiety, disappointment to my family, to my dad. I just thought I was a loser, a total loser.
Wow.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoy this and you want more inspirational content, make sure to click the subscribe button below and click right here to watch what's coming next.